living for you. It's easy living, it's easy to live when you're in love, and I'm so in love. There's nothing in life but you. I'm happy to give. The years I'm giving, they're easy to give when you're in love, and I'm so in love. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you. Baby, I'm a fool, but it's fun. People say you rule me with one wave of your hand. Darling, it's grand. They just don't understand that living for you is easy living. It's easy to live when you're in love, and I'm so in love. There's nothing in life but you. John Wick, love it. I see you heard, Scott. Thank you. For you, baby, I'm a fool, but it's fun. People say you rule me with one wave of your hand. Darling, it's grand. They just don't understand that living for you is easy living. It's easy to live when you're in love, and I'm so in love. There's nothing in life but you. Did you guys hear that our Gypsy Jazz album is now available on vinyl, the pre-sale? We're gonna get copies soon. If you go to morbidmusic.bandcamp.com. Cheers. Hey. What's up, Kim? In my solitude, you taunt me with reveries of days gone by. In my solitude, you haunt me with reveries that never die. Alone in my chair, filled with despair, there's no one can be so sad. With gloom everywhere, I sit and I stare. I know I will soon go mad. In my solitude, I pray, dear Lord above, send back my love. In my solitude, you haunt me with memories of days gone by. In my solitude, you taunt me with reveries that never die. Alone in my chair, filled with despair, there's no one can be so sad. With gloom everywhere, I sit and I stare. I know I will soon go mad. In my solitude, I pray, dear Lord above, send back my love. Thanks, Jim. Oh man, chairs with armrests, they're like my biggest enemy. Hate it. Hey, Jamie Garcia. Bravo, thank you, Basil. Long time no see. What have you been doing lately? Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans? I miss it each night and day. I know I'm not wrong. The feeling's getting stronger the longer I stay away. Miss the moss-colored vine, the tall sugar pine, where hummingbirds used to sing. And I'd like to see the lazy Mississippi a-hurrying into spring. The Mardi Gras, the memories, old Creole tunes that fill the air. I dream of oleanders in June, and soon I'm wishing that I was there. Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans when that's where you left your heart? And there's something more. I miss the one I care for more than I miss New Orleans. when that's where you left your heart. And there's something more, I miss the one I care for more than I miss New Orleans. So I mentioned it's been a struggle for you too. Was it difficult? Yeah, I couldn't put down the guitar. That's right. God, you guys got to see how cute my dog's being. Just loving this weather. Look at this guy. That's a dachshund right there. Milton, you're being cute. Just adorable doggy. But yeah, Soraya kept being like, you know, we need a baby, and I was like, not now. Gotta get these standards together, you know. All right, well, Basil, you need to promise you're never gonna leave me again. That's a dachshund cat. I make a date for golf, and you can bet your life it rains. I try to give a party, but the guy upstairs complains. I guess I'll go through life just making calls and missing trains. Everything happens to me. I never miss a thing. I've had the measles and the mumps, and when I play an ace, you know my partner always trumps. I guess I'm just the fool who never looks before he jumps. Everything happens to me. At first I thought that you could lift this jinx for me, that love could turn the trick to end despair. But now I know that I can't trust this heart that thinks for me. Fuck. I've mortgaged all my castles in the air. I telegraphed and called, I sent an airmail special too. Your answer was goodbye, and there was even postage due. I fell in love just once, but then it had to be with you. Everything happens to me. I never won a sweepstake or a bank night at a show. I thought perhaps this time I did, but Lady Luck said no. Although it breaks my heart, I'm not surprised to see you go. Everything happens to me. That's right, bro. Man, it's hot out today. Melting my brain, making me forget some lyrics. The suspense is killing me. I can take uncertainty. Tell me now, I've got to know whether you like me to stay or go. Love me or leave me, let me be lonely. You won't believe me, but I love you only. I'd rather be lonely than happy with somebody new. You might find the nighttime the right time for kissing. Nighttime is my my time for just reminiscing, remembering instead of forgetting with somebody new. There'll be no one unless that someone is you. I intend to be independently blue. I want your love, I don't want to borrow, to have it today, to give back tomorrow. Your love is my love, there's no love for nobody new. There'll be nobody if that someone ain't you. I intend to be independently blue. I want your love, I don't want to borrow, to have it today, to live tomorrow. My love is your love, is no love for nobody new. Boker Tov, Abba. My dad woke up in the middle of the night. Wow, a lot of people are buying vinyl, I see. That's awesome. I keep getting notifications. We just released the pre-sale for the vinyl, limited edition, only making 200 copies, so one and only chance. Fabulously sweet song. There is no greater love than what I feel for you. No greater love, no love so true. There is no greater thrill than what you bring to me. No sweeter song than what you sing to me. You're the grandest thing I had ever known, and to think that you are mine alone. There is no greater love in all the world, it's true. No greater love than what I feel for you. There is no greater love than what I feel for you. No greater love, no love so true. There is no greater thrill than what you bring to me. No song so sweet than what you sing for me. You're the sweetest thing I had ever known, and to think that you are mine alone. There is no greater love in all the world, it's true. No greater love than what I feel for you. Drinking again and thinking of when you loved me. I'm having a few and wishing that you were here. Making the round, accepting around from strangers, being a fool and hoping that you'll appear. Sure, I can borrow a smoke, maybe tell a joker a bad joke, but nobody laughs. They don't laugh at a broken heart. And yeah, I'm drinking again. It's always the same old story. After the kicks, there's little old mixed up me, trying to lose a dream that used to be. I can borrow a smoke, maybe tell a joker a bad joke, but nobody laughs. They don't laugh at a broken heart. And yeah, I'm drinking again. It's always the same old story. After the kicks, there's little old mixed up me, trying to lose a dream that used to be. Don't remember Speak Low. Actually, you never really played that one. I remember vaguely the Billie Holiday version, but Speak Low. I'm assuming all of you have checked out Fernway, the Gypsy Jazz album we made. Tell me you have, right? You guys checked it out, you know what I'm talking about. It's so weird to make an album after I do like this live feed every day. It's like, just play the way I play. It's still different, but more thought into the details. I do feel bad for the Instagrammers of, thank you, Rob. Feel bad for the Instagrammers of the world that they just release 60 seconds of blurbs of music and never really figure out how to play any of it, how to put any sort of life force behind it. That's true, Rob. But the Instagram thing, I don't think it's just for music. I had a really an epiphany. My friend Ben, for a while when he was single, he was like obsessed with these Instagram women that he kind of knew, but you know, just these ladies that would love to post pictures of their ass in a bathing suit, and you know, get like an army of dudes semi-hard for like a fracture of a second. And I remember one of them, when we were in New York City touring and he was opening for us, like came to meet him at a show, and she was so dumb and like just kind of, you know, good looking girl, but like it was like, you know, you would like pictures of her semi-naked body, and you know, she was successful at like creating this image, but then you'd meet her and be like, oh, it's just a dumb bitch. It's nothing attractive about that, you know. So I feel the same about the guitar players, you know. It's like if you can artificially generate this kind of interest, it's not the real thing, you know. It's like the real thing is like when you interact with a person and, you know, they have something to give you. They don't just, you know, can engineer something. That's the thing. David. All right, we're gonna address David's question about the jazz blues. So the question David asked me in an email was, what's the difference in approach between playing a 1-4-5, meaning, or like a Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of blues, to a Charlie Parker blues? So Charlie Parker blues obviously is crammed with more changes, but the big difference is that when you're playing a shuffle, it's not so necessary to follow the harmony so surgically and follow the form. It's more like you can just be an R&B singer over it, like really paint with, you know, broad brush strokes. So, kind of smear the notes, smear the rhythm, play over the bar line in that kind of way, like Derek Truxton or something, like a slide play, where you're not really getting into the nooks and crannies of the measures. That approach doesn't really work so much for swing and for playing stuff where the harmony is shifting. You just got to play over it like it's a jazz song. And even when you get your blues vocabulary together, you got to start imagining your blues lines moving through changes. Even like a good thing to practice, let's say the last two measures of any blues are what people call a turnaround. Like the measure, you know, 12-bar blues, so measure 11 and 12. Let's say I'm playing a blues in F. So it's like 1, 6, 2, 5. 1, 6, 2, 5. 1, 6, 2, 5. So you can arpeggiate those 1, 6, 2, 5s. What do you mean play over it like a jazz song? I mean be cognizant of every chord you're on as if it's an island. Initially, until you can connect them. But you know, anytime the chord changes, first of all, you got to memorize the chord changes of a blues, right? So a 1-4-5 blues, the most basic blues. I'll get into this 1, 6, 2, 5 idea after I go over this. So 1-4-5 blues has 1-4-4 measures to the 4 chord, right? So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 to the 4 chord, 2 measures of the 1 chord, 1 measure of the 5 chord, 1 measure of the 4 chord, 1 measure of the 1 chord, 1 measure of the 5 chord. Okay, so let's say that that's the full, simple Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of shuffle blues. So a Charlie Parker blues is going to cram a lot more changes in there. So you're going to go from the 1 chord and measure 1 to the 4 chord and measure 2 to the 1 chord again. Now maybe a 2-5 to the 4 chord, so C minor, F7 in the key of F, B flat 4 chord, sharp 4 diminished, 1 chord. Now a minor 2-5 to the 2, so A half diminished, D7, 2, G minor, C7, and now a 1-6-2-5 to turn around. So even when you're playing blues over that, you're playing blues over all these changes. So you got to really be mindful of that root motion changing underneath you. So if I'm just playing F minor pentatonic, I'm going to make slightly different choices once I'm really putting that together with a bass line. Meaning, here's the bass line. just root motion, not a bass line, but like the bass, like. Rather 1, 2, 3, 4, like. So I'm trying to, like, you know, that's not the way I play, but the idea is that I'm able to hear, right, to imagine all those blues lines against the moving bass, right, the 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 2/5 to the 2, right, still playing an F minor pentatonic. It's pretty out sounding, right, could be major pentatonic, over all those changes. Now, that's just, you know, if you just know pentatonic scales. But let's say you actually know the modes that go with each thing, with each chord there. So you could really start getting into the harmony, meaning outlining the harmony, telling the story of the harmony in your blues playing. The problem is that too much of that and getting away from blues scales and from pentatonic playing, it doesn't sound like you're playing a blues. It doesn't have attitude. So the sweet spot is somewhere in the middle. But when you're practicing, you want to get the arpeggios together. Hopefully we're coming out west in January. So here I'll just play like the way I would play, right? So outlining the 1 chord, F7, to the 4 chord. To the 1 chord, the 2/5 to the 4 chord, sharp 4 diminished, 1, that 2/5 to the 2. That's sort of the idea. So in terms of what I'm doing, I'm playing like F Mixolydian on the 1 chord, B flat Mixolydian on the 4 chord, F Mixolydian on the 1 chord, C Dorian on the 4, on the 2 and the 2/5 to the 4, F Mixolydian or altered on the way, D flat Mixolydian, B whole half diminished, F Mixolydian, and then maybe like D Mixolydian flat 2 flat 6 on that D7 leading to the G minor, and then G minor is Dorian. C I could play whole half diminished again, or half whole diminished, I mean. And then the 1 6 2 5 you could just do a pentatonic over. So there's options, but doesn't matter. Like the point is to play on the chords as they change. You got to be able to play inside the harmony as it moves to give the sound of the harmony. And if you can't do that, and if you're not trying to do that deliberately, then you're practicing something else. That's the thing. You're not practicing how to play a jazz blues. You may be practicing how to play a blues, right? Just letting go of that. You know, you cut that chord and you just kind of float on top of the form. That's how you play like jazz rock and shit like that. But with jazz, it's about really trying to hone in on where you are in the form and be hyper aware of it until it becomes second nature. You can't let go of it. It's not close your eyes and let it go by and just play on it like it's just like a key, just in the key of F. That will never get you to where you want to go. And I know it's hard to imagine that some people can do this when you can't do it. But it's something that becomes like absolutely second nature over time. But you have to start trying. You have to start every time the chord changes, you need to shift your modal thinking and avoid the instinct of jumping back and playing the root, right? It's like that. What really sounds like novice shit is when you go to where you think the chord starts, right? It's like going from some sort of F mix, like from the, just you take two chords, the 1 chord and the 4 chord, F7 and B flat 7, and let's say you know F mixolydian and you know B flat mixolydian. So if you're playing a line and then, you know what I mean? It's like you have to like restart your idea. The idea is to be able to bridge melodies over sets of 2 chords, 3 chords. Right, going from F7. So I totally know what chord I'm playing on as they appear underneath, right? So F7, C7, so that was substitution, F7, F altered, B flat 7, B diminished, F major 7, A half diminished, D7, G minor, C altered, F7, D7, G minor, C altered, right? Why is it that when I practice soloing over a jazz backing track, it sounds acceptable, but when I play it with other people, a lot of the things I could do on my own disappear in a real setting? Well, that's like, it's like asking, why is it that when you, sit there with internet porn and imagine you find yourself very attractive, and when a girl looks at you naked, because what you think about yourself when you're alone is we're not very good at seeing ourselves in that setting, right? So it's like to imagine that the tension and the nervousness and and the whole anxious side of living and excited part of living and playing is the anomaly, and you alone at home is the normal, is just it's a backwards way of thinking, but it happens to be like what we get the most used to in this generation, because we do, that's the least amount of playing we do is live in front of people, but that's the space where you really need to practice. So it has to do mainly with relaxation. Also the fact that that the way you're Stella, that's it. With a backing track you can be there for 5 hours trying ideas, but when you're playing it Stella by Starlight with your friends, after your solo, that's the only solo you get, so, but that's truer to the, you practice to be good for those situations. It should feel like that. You should be able to do more with zero anxiety, zero nervousness, zero tension, but you practice to be able to do more when you are with people. And I mean, treat that thing of being with people as the only measure. Don't even look at what you can do when you're alone, because that's not what you can do. That's what you could do at home. That's just it's good to measure yourself based on how you sound. And if you're sure that you can do something at home that's incredible and can't do it at all when you're with people, record yourself and you'll find out that you're doing the same things when you're with people. It's just they just don't deliver the punch you think that they're delivering in a different setting, meaning they don't work. You know, it's like you gotta play the stuff that has impact. And when you're playing with people, you're finding out that like this stuff that was really angular and really cool on the Jamie Aebersold backing track just doesn't mean anything, you know. And when you play it, it's like it's so awkward sounding and it has so little impact that like you get grossed out by it mid phrase, and then you're like fucking up the time because you don't even want it to come out. You're like, why am I playing a fragment of a Michael Brecker lick right now, you know, or Charlie Parker lick? So that's the simple answer. But if you play nice melodies that you actually can get behind, then you're never gonna feel that way. You know what I mean? If a blues comes and you're just like there's never a time where like where that's like a bad thing to do, you know. But once you get into that esoteric shit that doesn't really work and it feels like it works when you're alone, and then you go and play with people, yeah. Let's see, do you ever have a hard time hearing yourself on stage? Yeah. With Marvin less, because I play with a half stack, but like jazz gigs, if somebody plays louder than what I'm putting out, it's a drag. Like I just played a gig playing this guitar with a drummer. It's like, you know, you can't play gypsy jazz when somebody's playing with a stick. Every time you switch to sticks from brushes, like I was getting buried, and then I tighten my right hand, and then I lose my technique. It's very hard. You gotta be a Zen master to stay relaxed with your hand, even when you feel like you're sonically buried. So yeah, that certainly happens. You know, when you have your own amp anymore, people are micing you, but your amp is basically a glorified monitor. You can set it as loud as you want it to be. Early on, when we were starting out and I played a ton of gigs way too loud, I had a problem hearing everybody else, and everybody else had problems hearing each other because I was getting my tone. That's, you know, getting my sound, which is, you know, you never want to get your sound. That's a big fallacy. There's no such thing as your sound. Your sound is not separate from the band's sound. You're moving air together. You know what I mean? That's like such a douchey approach, something like Joe Bonamassa would say, getting his sound, you know? As if your sound like levitates on its own above the ensemble. Is Marvin ever coming to Italy? Oh, dude, I would absolutely love to come to Italy. Hook it up and it will happen. But missed the band on Isolated, Eddie Van Halen, but I'm nuts for that dude. Eddie Van Halen is badass, but you know, listening to ISO tracks is always fun because you get to see Stevie Ray Vaughan. I couldn't believe how much reverb is in those guitar tones. You don't hear it in the mix; it gets kind of lost in the cymbals, but it's just drenched in reverb. You know, when you really love somebody, you can really get close to their sound and have it be a good experience. I gotta get going. See you next time.